If there are cases where persons are victims of some form of trafficking in persons, then signs of this form of abuse can be easily deduced if persons know what to look for. That's what the head of the Counter Trafficking in Persons Unit at the Ministry of Social Protection, Tanisha Williams-Corbin, says.
Could you explain what are some of the signs that can actually signal that there's trafficking in persons going on?
Good, great. That's a great question. We have found that persons in Guyana, they tend to confuse human trafficking or trafficking in persons with more than oftentimes prostitution. Prostitution is prostitution, and human trafficking or trafficking in persons is something totally different.
She stated that much work is being done to eradicate trafficking in persons here in Guyana, but persons often get the lines blurred between prostitution and trafficking in persons.
Sexual exploitation or prostitution of another is the leading form of human trafficking in Guyana. There are some simple indicators that we can look for. If a person is engaged in sexual activity, is there a third party who's benefiting from this arrangement? Is there a pimp? Is there a bouncer? Is there a madam? Is there, these are things that we can look for. Is the person being controlled in any way? Is the person being coerced? Is the person being threatened? Is the person's freedom restricted in any way? Is the person working very long hours? Is the person afraid? Does the person look as though, they have been drugged? Or, these are some of the indicators that we can look for when we're dealing specifically with sexual exploitation.
According to the Counter TIP Unit's head, labor exploitation is also an overlooked form of TIP. She says that in Guyana, there are 9 common forms of TIP, so common that they are easily overlooked.
Where we have forced begging, we have child marriages, servile marriages, etc. Yeah.
And how can the public help in the fight against trafficking in persons?
Well, first, the public needs to be aware of what is trafficking in persons. We have been doing a whole lot of work. We have been meeting out to communities. We have been having requests from organizations to do training with their staff, to do awareness sessions with their staff. The first thing a person needs to do is to be able to identify what is trafficking in persons, be able to identify what are the indicators, and of course, be able to report. We do not advocate or we do not encourage persons to try to deal with the crime themselves.
Ms. Williams-Corbin added that to aid the ministry's Counter TIP Unit's work, one of the recommendations coming out of the U.S. State Department report on trafficking in persons in Guyana has been implemented with regard to the hotline number that receives calls of reports of TIP in the country.
So we now have an improved system where we're able to record, manage, and to follow up on reports coming in.
Reporting for HGP Nightly News, I am Kristen Macklingam.